Okay.
Okay, so here's one of those worksheets. We're going to take this three-dimensional object, map it around to these three views. So the top is looking straight down at kind of the slanted surface. We're looking at this flat surface, these two slanted surfaces. The side is going to be this wing over here. And then this will be the front view looking at this step, at the slanted surfaces coming back, and then the slanted surface at the top. I like to start these out with the lower left-hand corner, and I'm going to go ahead and map some of these features out onto the other views. So I'm going to take these corners and kind of bring them over to get the other views started. So this little lip is going to translate into looking at the front of this thing. If you have a see-through ruler, that works well, and realize that sometimes the ruler will offset where your pencil is a little bit. So you put your pencil down first on the point and then bring it over. Okay, so there's our first feature, and that is looking at this lower lip right here. And then if we want to know like how high this middle piece comes, so this flat part, let's bring that over to the center. And I'm just going to write a kind of a light line that comes from there. And let's see, we can bring this over as well. So we'll see this slanted surface over there. And so I'll bring him over. And that slanted surface, again, you're going to see along the entire front of it. Okay, coming up to get the top view. So from the top view, we're also going to see that slanted surface. So I'll bring that line up, and I can kind of get a little chunk of this to make sure it's square. This is one of the drafting tools is actually a square, and those can be very helpful to get those 90-degree angles. Okay, so there's that top surface kind of rotated around. We're also going to have this little square right here. So I'm going to take this corner and bring that corner up. And it's going to just appear somewhere in the center here. We're not quite too sure where. And then to find where this comes down. So what I'm going to do, there's solid lines and hidden lines. So I'm going to, behind this flap, there's a floor behind this flap. So I'm going to go ahead and put a dashed hidden line showing that there's kind of behind that solid surface, there's going to be a floor there, and then behind this hidden surface, there's also some other features back there. So we'll use some dashed hidden lines for those features. And then I'm going to just bring this middle piece down, so we'll see where he intersects the floor. Just following this right here. And again, we're looking through the flap, so we're using kind of some dashed hidden lines there. And then once we see where that line intersects the floor, then I can bring this up to that top view again. Okay, so here is, and I'm just going to make a nice light line. So these orthographic projections, they line up with one another and they line up with the 3D. Okay, some of this we're going to have to try and count squares, and these squares are not exactly so you can see this slab. Here's 1 and maybe 1 3/4. So I'm going to come over 1, maybe 1 3/4, and this slab comes up to a height of, I guess we better figure out what that height is. So I'll go ahead and add in these lines. Okay, so here's that side piece, And then the middle piece is kind of poking up. So right here, that's where those sides are going to pop up to. These are, sometimes you have to redo them a few times before you kind of see where they actually come up to. So that's going to come over to both lines. And we're going to make this a width of, yeah, just choose something, some kind of a close to round number. So 3/4 of an inch, we'll call that over here. And it looks like each of these has about the same slab. If we count grid spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is kind of the midpoint of this. And this middle section here. So we'll make him, he's a little bit taller than the other guys. Okay, so we're lining everything up. Let's see, we have this, we have the two side pieces, we have the slanted middle piece. We can't see this flat piece because it's going straight back. And then we're going up the back, and then we have a slanted piece. And then on the side, we have the side coming down. This guy sticking up, the other side is kind of behind it. So last thing to finish up is the top. So the top, we can see this slanted piece. We can see the tops of these two big legs. So we decided those are going to be about 1.75. So you can put those guys in on each side. They go all the way from the front to the back if you're looking down at this thing. And then we have this middle piece. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4. If we find the center of this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So here's kind of the center line of our object. And that middle piece is coming down to here. So we can get that distance by how far. So this is this top little piece right here that we're looking at. And then there's a slanted piece from right here that's going to come down the rest of the way. So this is the slanted piece looking from the top. So we have the two arms. This is when you're looking at these perspective views, you can't tell what's slanted and what is, 90 degrees to the surface. It's very different. Let me show you one more thing, and that is called a meter line. And it helps you map features from the top over to the front. So if I just extend these lines from these two sides that we're trying to map things around to, and we can do this in CAD too to just get everything lined up, I'm going to make a folding line right here. And you can actually take features from one of these sides, and they will fold over that meter line. So this is another way to kind of see how things fold on top of one another. So if you have the dimensions on one side of it, you can kind of fold them over this line, and they will line up on the other side. Okay, so this is what, sketch this out by hand first, and maybe draw in some coordinates. So if we call this 0, 0, and this point was over here at 10, 0, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we have a 10 by 10 box here. If you can walk around and kind of get each of these corners, so we'll call this 1.75, and then this is up not quite to 9. We'll call this 8.75. So walk around and just map out these corners, and then we can use some rays and X lines to kind of bring the features across when we get into CAD. But first step is spend some time sketching this stuff out and making sure everything is lined up across it. Okay, so hopefully that's a good start for one of these things.